You've probably bought a Red Bull this week. 43% of every energy drink sold in Europe is theirs. They sponsor Formula One teams, cliff divers, and half the extreme sports you've ever seen. That was 2024. By 2025, the European Commission had raided their offices across 4 countries and launched a €1 billion investigation. Fuschel am See, Austria, a quiet lakeside village that most Europeans have never heard of, let alone visited. This is where Red Bull runs its global empire from a headquarters that looks more like a luxury resort than a corporate office. In 2025 alone, the company sold an estimated 3.91 billion cans across Europe and reported global revenue of 12.2 billion euros. Their share of the European energy drinks market hovers around 43%, making them the undisputed leader in a sector worth somewhere between 21 and 25 billion euros depending on whose estimates you trust. Red Bull isn't just the biggest energy drink brand. It's the brand that essentially created the category and has dominated it for over 3 decades without ever losing the top spot. But Red Bull wasn't accused of something obvious like price fixing in a hotel room or secretly buying out competitors behind closed doors. The accusation was far more subtle and far more interesting. Their biggest rival, Monster Energy, filed a formal complaint with the European Commission alleging that Red Bull had been using its market dominance to quietly squeeze competitors off supermarket shelves for years, not through better advertising or lower prices or a superior product, but through a carefully designed system that made sure rival brands never got a fair shot at reaching your hand in the first place. The allegation was that Red Bull had rigged the game at the point of sale, right there in the supermarket aisle where you make your choice in about 2 seconds flat. I explain EU cases like this every week. Subscribe to see the next one. To understand how this scheme allegedly worked, you need to know about something called category management. In most large supermarkets across Europe, retailers don't decide entirely on their own which energy drinks go where on the shelf, which brands get premium placement at eye level, and which ones get banished to the bottom row where nobody looks. Instead, they appoint what's called a category captain, usually the biggest and most successful brand in the sector, to advise on product placement, shelf layout, promotional timing, and even which competitors deserve any shelf space at all. The theory behind this arrangement is straightforward. The dominant brand supposedly knows the market better than anyone else and can optimize the entire category to maximize sales for the retailer. The problem becomes obvious once you actually think about it for more than a few seconds. Asking the market leader to manage its own competitors is like asking a fox to design the security system for a henhouse. Red Bull, according to the Commission's preliminary concerns, allegedly used this advisory role not to optimize the energy drinks category for consumers or even for the retailers who appointed them, but to ensure their own distinctive blue and silver cans stayed permanently at eye level, while rivals like Monster got pushed to the bottom shelf given less shelf space, or squeezed out of certain store formats entirely. And for years, nobody outside the industry paid any real attention. Consumers never questioned why Red Bull always seemed to have the best spot in every shop. Retailers were happy with their sales numbers. The arrangement seemed to work for everyone involved, everyone except the competitors, who were slowly being suffocated. Until Monster Energy decided they'd had enough of watching their market access shrink and went to Brussels with a formal complaint and a stack of supporting evidence. The mechanism allegedly went well beyond simple shelf placement recommendations. The Commission suspects Red Bull offered retailers a complex web of loyalty rebates and conditional discounts, financial incentives tied directly to how much shelf space and how prominent a position Red Bull products received compared to competitors. A retailer who gave Red Bull prime eye-level positioning and actively limited Monster's presence would earn significantly better margins on every can sold. A retailer who tried to treat competitors fairly and give everyone proportional space might lose those bonuses entirely. The financial pressure to favor Red Bull was allegedly baked into the commercial relationship itself. This creates what competition lawyers call a squeeze effect, though you don't need a law degree to understand it. When a customer walks into a convenience store or supermarket and wants an energy drink, the first brand they see at eye level determines what they buy in the vast majority of cases. Impulse purchases account for a massive share of energy drink sales. People don't walk in with a list. They grab what catches their eye. If Monster or any smaller brand can't get visible placement in enough stores across enough countries, their sales decline regardless of whether customers consumers actually prefer their taste, their price, or their brand. You can have the best product in the market, but if nobody can see it, nobody buys it. Red Bull's response to Monster's complaint was publicly confident. They called the allegations manifestly unfounded and suggested the entire investigation lacked any serious basis in fact. That confidence was about to be severely tested. On March 20th, 2023, European Commission officials arrived unannounced at Red Bull premises in Austria, France, and the Netherlands. These were dawn raids, the most aggressive investigative tool in the Commission's arsenal. Inspectors in dark suits showed up before the working day began, carrying legal orders that compelled Red Bull staff to open every filing cabinet, unlock every computer, and hand over every document requested. They walked out with boxes of internal communications, hard drives full of emails, and commercial agreements that had never been meant for outside eyes. Red Bull's legal team immediately fought back with everything they had. They challenged the Commission's authority to conduct these raids in the General Court in Luxembourg, arguing that the inspectors lacked sufficient grounds to justify such an intrusive and disruptive operation. The judges disagreed entirely. The court ruled that the Commission possessed, in their exact words, sufficiently serious clues to support the inspections. Challenge dismissed. You would think someone would have said something internally before it reached this point. Nobody did. Red Bull then attempted to recover their substantial legal costs from the failed court challenge. That request was rejected as well. Every legal door they pushed on stayed firmly shut. 7 months after formally opening proceedings, in November 2025, Commissioner Teresa Ribera stood at a podium in Brussels and made the investigation official and public. She announced a formal probe under case number AT.4819, stating clearly that the Commission wanted to see if these practices may be keeping prices high and limiting choice of energy drinks for consumers across Europe. The maximum penalty if Red Bull is ultimately found to have broken EU competition law sits at 10% of their annual global turnover. Based on their 2025 revenue figures, that number comes to approximately 1.22 billion euros, the kind of figure that makes even the most confident corporate legal team reconsider their strategy entirely. Most antitrust cases that make headlines in Europe involve cartels meeting secretly in hotel conference rooms to fix prices, or massive companies trying to merge illegally and eliminate competition outright. This case is fundamentally different. It targets something no European regulator has ever formally pursued as a standalone competition violation before. The concept is called category management abuse, and it means that a dominant company can break competition rules not by fixing prices, not by acquiring rivals, not by any of the traditional forms of anti-competitive behavior, but simply by quietly shaping the retail environment day after day so that competitors never get the opportunity to compete on equal terms. The same category captain status that helped build Red Bull's retail empire over 3 decades is now becoming the central piece of evidence against them. A system originally designed to help retailers sell more effectively allegedly became a tool for one company to lock in its dominance at everyone else's expense. If the Commission wins this case, the implications stretch far beyond energy drinks. Every supermarket shelf arrangement in Europe could face scrutiny. Every brand that ever appointed a dominant competitor as its category captain will need to rethink that cozy arrangement immediately. Draft guidelines on Article 102 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, the rule that prohibits abuse of a dominant market position, now explicitly reference category management as a potential form of abuse. Other regulators in the Netherlands and the Western Balkans have begun monitoring developments closely. As of June 2026, no statement of objections has been issued to Red Bull. That document is the formal charge sheet that would precede any fine or penalty. The investigation remains open and active. No remedies have been proposed by either side. No settlement has been offered or accepted. Red Bull maintains both its innocence and its 43% market share simultaneously. The company that built a global empire on the slogan that it gives you wings is now facing a pointed question about whether it spent years systematically clipping everyone else's. Next time you reach for an energy drink in a supermarket aisle, take a second and look at where each brand sits on the shelf. Notice what's at eye level and what's hidden near the floor where you'd never naturally look. That arrangement might not be an accident of retail design. And right now, in Brussels, a team of competition investigators is working to prove exactly that. This case is not over, not even close.